know what to do when you become a judge. All right. Good evening, everybody. Everybody.
Good evening.
Miss Marshall, when she summons one, she summons them all. And we thank you. Thank you all for joining us this evening. It is now 6:04. We want to call to order our regular meeting of the South Euclid Lyndhurst Board of Education. Mr. Hill, may we get a roll call?
Ms. Falkenberg,
Here.
Mrs. Jones,
Here.
Mrs. King,
Here.
Ms. Lee, Mrs. Shelby.
Here.
Perfect. Thank you for that. We will go ahead and go right into the Pledge of Allegiance. If you all would stand for us. We've got a flag in the back right corner. Give Mr. Fuller direct the traffic. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Choirs have nothing on y'all. That's funny. All right, we can go right into 2.1, our liaison reports. Ms. Falkenberg, do we have a legislative liaison report?
No, I had
We do.
success.
I have legislative.
Are you flipped? Okay, Mrs.
No, I have legislative.
And
She
new
has
vote.
student achievement, yeah.
Legislative is up first.
Yes. All right, so just some brief updates. Looking at the governor's update, so recently released House Bill 96, which is the governor's executive budget. Looking at that budget, it's primarily focused on funding components regarding transportation, which is really exciting. Incorporates feedback developed from the school bus safety work group that held some meetings last year and the year prior. The bill introduced would increase the minimum state share of transportation to a little bit over 45% in the fiscal year of 26 and 50% in fiscal year 27. The current state share is 41.67, so this does increase the percentages, and it's consistent with the Fair School Funding Plan's transportation phase-in. Something that I found really interesting, another recommendation was regarding school bus safety grants. The total amount was in $30 million, but this could be used in accordance with the guidelines established by the ODEW and Ohio Department of Public Safety. The grant money could be used for a host of safety features, but what I enjoy the most is that the funds could be used not just for repairs or replacements, but adding safety features to active buses. These funds could also be used for enhancements when purchasing new buses. And the way to access these funds will be, an application will come out soon, and then school districts will apply. There will be some type of math situation about the maximum amounts that certain school districts can apply upward to. So I think that's really interesting. Also because both the Senate and the House have introduced legislation pertaining to school bus safety. So that does seem to be a very high priority on the current legislators' agenda. And then lastly, just piggybacking off of some legislation mentioned in my legislative report last month. Last month there was a host of Senate bills introduced. So this most recent month, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. King. As you talk about school bus safety, I just wanted to say, I don't know if everybody realized the bus driver in the Cleveland Heights bus fire was a Rush graduate. So that was very heartwarming to see one of our own, and he spoke. So I work in Cleveland Heights, so they honored him at the City Hall meeting, and one of our own graduates. All right, Ms. Falkenberg.
All right. I have 3 different reports. I'll try to be quick. The annual military signing day was held at the National Veterans Memorial and Museum. We had high school seniors and juniors who are entering service academies or have committed to serve as active duty Reserve or National Guard members were there, and they were honored. Students signed commitment letters, and received red, white, and blue graduation cords from the USO. And according to Director Dakin, I'm sure if I'm pronouncing it right, we honor the unwavering commitment of Ohio's young leaders who have chosen to serve our nation. As they take this next step, they will have opportunities to expand on the foundational knowledge and skills learned throughout their education that will continue to support their growth and success in the future. And I'm sure we all honor those who are going on to serve in the military. In Lakewood, some of the high school students who are in Ron Lewis's financial literacy class recently were able to speak to and listen to the first federal Lakewood Assistant Vice President, Eliseo Cruz Garcia, who spoke with 50 students in the class. They were hearing about money, banking, budget, and credit, said Lewis, who also teaches AP. And he said, sometimes hearing things from an outside source can reinforce the message being conveyed in class, which I think we all know. Plus, they got squish balls, which is always fun. He said, presenting a financial literacy session at the high school was a rewarding experience. This is from Cruz Garcia, because it allowed me to share valuable insights on budgeting and credit with the students. And for anyone who has had students who've gone on to college and gotten into financial trouble, you know how important this is. So I thought that was a great idea. And then finally, this is a program started by a woman, teacher intervention specialist in Maine, actually, at a elementary school. She started a breakfast breakfast club program. So she allows, these students are chosen by teachers and parents, many of whom maybe are nervous about school, or who are having issues with either food or home anxiety. And the Breakfast Club is able to bring these special students together. It's a 20 to 30-minute program in the morning. They come and can have breakfast, or if they've already had breakfast, they can play games, work on Legos, and have a chance to talk with teachers and other students. So it helps them kind of calm themselves and be ready for the day, which is so important, as some of us know, right? Yes. Okay, so those are my three my three reports.
Thank you so much, Ms. Falkenberg. Appreciate that. I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Kaple.
Good evening, everybody. Everybody behind us, thanks for coming. Just a couple quick announcements, and then we're going to get to the fun. Superintendent Community Advisory Council. We are still accepting applications for the Superintendent Community Advisory Council. I'm excited to get started for our first meeting, which will be coming up in April. There's an application process, and we'd love to see you fill that out. Staff and teaching positions are available. They are hot off the presses. They are currently on our website, so please check those out. That season has begun for us. Our master facility plan is taking shape. We've had 2 meetings now with our engineer groups as we continue to unfold this project. And lastly, the legislative updates. I just want to reaffirm that we are currently a lot of developments regarding legislation that affect public education. I want to assure you again that my team and I are fully engaged in monitoring these changes. We are in constant communication with ESC, BASA, and OSBA, which are all organizations throughout the county and the state level. And just wanted to say thank you for your trust as we continue to be transparent and these things continue to unfold. And now, on to some exciting news. So first, I want to congratulate all of our state qualifiers. The last couple weeks have been a lot of fun around Brush. From our orchestra to our band competing at the state levels to our girls basketball team. We had 3 girls wrestlers In the state meet, we had 2 boys wrestlers, we had 3 boy indoor track athletes, and we had 6, let me make sure I got that right, 1, 2, 3, yep. We had 6 girls competing in the indoor track state meets. So it's been a lot of fun, a lot of exciting things happen in all of our extracurriculars. And while we're on extracurriculars, there's one special guest, and I think they all came out for you. I don't think it's just all for the Rowan singing here, Moo. But her name is Kiara Shields, better known as Moo. And I want to give you a couple accolades because she's setting the standard in Northeast Ohio and around the state for girls flag football. She was selected as one of the only girls in the entire Midwest to compete in the first ever girls Under Armour All-American game in Orlando, Florida. And she is one of the first female athletes to receive an official offer from North Central Missouri College in Trenton, Missouri to play flag football. With that, I want to turn this over to Coach Jackson back there. Come on up, grab a mic. I'm going to have you introduce athletes. Yeah, and she was mentioned in our basketball team too, don't worry.
Yep. Yeah, go ahead. All right. So a couple things. Kiara led our team with 10-plus touchdowns, which helped our team go undefeated in our regular season. We made it to the 3rd round of the playoffs. Fortunately, we lost to Mayfield. We're going to get them back this year, though. So, but she competed in a – oh, thank you.
Your back was gonna be done by 6 o'clock.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so she actually had an opportunity. We participated in a Under Armour Next Camp. It was the first one for female athletes, but they've been doing this for male football players. She put on a show. She does what Moo does. Very great technique, but outside of just from her skill level, because she's honestly been playing football pretty much all her life, grew up with brothers. But as a teammate, she does such a great job of just making everybody feel welcome. So whether your level is somebody who's new or whether your level is somebody who might participate, you know, because she has a lot of relationships with basketball girls, and I have a few on the team, she just does a great job in just making everybody feel included. So she makes the game easy for us, I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of our play calling, she lets us be creative, and she's open to helping the team out in any way. She even threw a touchdown as a quarterback. She doesn't think she has an arm, but she does. But overall, just with the game of flag football growing, and I don't know if you all watched the Super Bowl, but there was a commercial, and some of those young ladies and women been playing for years, and it's just now the NFL is really behind it. So the Cleveland Browns are very aware of her, and she's one of the top players in the area, and I expect us to have a great run this year. This will be obviously her last year, but not only that, she's willing and wants to play college basketball and flag football. So we're trying to I'm working with Coach Winters along with Coach Jen, and we're trying to get her opportunity to be able to play both. It's not much else I can really say. She's a fantastic person, does well in the classroom, and just like I said, overall, just an awesome person to be around. And I'm going to cherish my time with her, you know, because when it's that time at the end of the season, I probably am going to cry, so just be ready for it. You're going to see me cry. And I know Coach Jen, she gets a little emotional too. But just a phenomenal athlete, and this ain't going to be the last one you'll see, for sure.
So with that, we have a special picture and frame we wanted to present to you on behalf of the entire board and the district. And once again, let's give her a huge round of applause. Hold it up, please. Hold it up there. Hey, I'll be looking for some of y'all soon. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it, too. Thanks, sir. All right, now we're going to do pass the mic, and we're going to turn it over to Miss Principal at Rowan, Miss Marshall.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. It's kind of weird being here. I stood before you before as a teacher for many years, then assistant principal, summer school principal, and now my first year standing before you as principal. So you know, I always have to thank you for believing in me. 20 years in the district coming up, so thank you for your belief in me, for growing me in this district. So special thank you to all of you for your support, finishing up my first year. Can't believe it. Where Mr. Fuller at? Mr. Fuller, where you at? Mr. Fuller, shout out to Mr. Fuller back there. And then, you know, Moo, hold on, Moo left me. Moo, shout out to Moo. Today was sports day, so Mr. Kaple just said representing the Lady Arcs. They got me a regional, and they got me a district final championship, so shout out to the Lady Arcs back there. Yeah, thank you. So I appreciate y'all. Much love. Follow them at Lady Arcs on Instagram. Get your phone out at Lady Arcs on Instagram. Expect y'all to follow. But I'm really up here to just shout out some wonderful people. I was always told you're as great as the people you work with. And I'm only great because of the people I work with. So today, you're not going to hear a lot from me. I don't do the work. I just support the work. And so I support the work. You're going to hear from our preschool. So preschool, please come up. Preschool teachers, stand up. So a lot of people do not know this, but the district preschool is housed in Roland. I know there's not a sign on South Belvoir, so sometimes you ride past and you don't know that those windows right there at the bottom, that's actually preschool, but we're working on that for you. So we're going to have Mrs. Weinberg, and I cannot just call her a school psychologist because she is so much more than that. So HR, Bill, I'm sorry, I got to call her like you over there. I got to call her like a preschool coordinator. So you're going to hear from her in a second, and then you're going to hear from this musician, composer, because he's more than a music teacher. So you're going to hear from them tonight because it's not about me, it's about what they do to support the students each and every day. Like I said, I just support their great work. So if we can pull that presentation up, I believe it's up there. Nope, I don't want to do crisis. That is not my calling.
There it is.
So we need to go to the Canva. That's not the beginning. Let's go to the beginning. Come on, Phil. You said, okay, I'll entertain you a little bit more. So yeah, it's sports week. And so tomorrow is it's part of Sandy Hook's Say Something Week, where we are helping the kids remember about their trusted adults. So tomorrow we're doing the college shirt day. So make sure you rep your college. And then I had one student, he told me he was wearing Harvard because that's the highest college you could go to. So I can't wait to see him tomorrow. And so Mrs. Weinberg, preschool coordinator, you're up.
Miss Marshall likes to give me funny names going around, but no, I am the school psychologist for the preschool. I also do coordinate the program overall as far as our students with disabilities, our peer model program, working with the transition in and out of preschool, all the fun stuff, and maintaining compliance for our preschool licensing, step up to quality, all the things. So I know we've got our singers waiting here. I'm not going to take up a whole lot of time, but just want to give some nuts and bolts about the preschool. Like Ms. Marshall said, we are located in Roland, but we are the preschool for the entire district. So we serve the communities of South Euclid and Lyndhurst, our district's youngest ARCs. And, you know, since Ms. Marshall joined Roland a few years ago, she's got a lot of catchphrases. Some of her catchphrases is that we're rolling, we're rowing, we're growing. And that did something to the preschool because we have been rowing and growing the past few years. We have doubled in size. If whoever is controlling the slides wants to go to the next slide. So before we get to the numbers, we are, we do have integrated and special education preschool programs in the district. We do not yet have what would be considered an early childhood general education preschool program. So we have integrated and special education programs, meaning that we serve students with and without disabilities, again, in both the South Euclid and Lyndhurst communities. So right now, we've got 8 half-day integrated and special education classrooms that run Monday through Thursday, 2.5 hours a day. We have a morning session and an afternoon session. And again, if I would have done this presentation 4 years ago, that number would be cut in half. We have doubled in size since maybe even 3 years ago, since 2022. Ms. Marshall is trying to find every nook and cranny for us to keep on growing at Roland. We also do offer one extended day classroom that does not have peer models for our children with more intensive special needs. Next slide. So currently, just last week, I think I just had a meeting last week, we currently have 100 preschool students attending our classrooms. 66% of those students are students with disabilities. 34% of those are typically developing peers. And so in a perfect world, we'd love to have a 50-50 ratio. So I love that we've got so many parents here tonight. Spread the word. We are looking for our typically developing peer models for our program. Kids learn better from other kids. We think we're pretty great, but kids learn better from other kids. And so if you've got a 3-year-old, if you've got a 4-year-old, we always recommend 2 years of preschool before getting into kindergarten. So you can contact myself or our Office of Exceptional Students, and we can talk to you more about our peer model program. In addition to the students that attend Roland's classrooms, we also have an additional 31 students with disabilities who receive itinerant services in either their home setting or in their community preschool setting. So we are very busy working with kids in the building and in the community as well. Next slide, please. So of the students that I was just mentioning, 90 of those students currently receive speech and language therapy. 61 students receive either direct or consultative occupational therapy, and 19 students receive direct or consultative physical therapy. So who's doing all of that? We've got 7 intervention specialists, 10 intervention specialist assistants, 1 school psychologist, this girl, 2 speech therapists, an occupational therapist, and the physical therapist that we share in the district. Next slide, please. And for some of you that may not be familiar with preschool, there has been an initiative for probably over the past 10 years, Step Up to Quality. Used to be on a 5-star continuum. We have been a 5-star program ever since it started. The state has transitioned to tiers, bronze, silver, and gold. So we are proud to say we are still a gold-rated preschool program. I won't go through everything on this slide, but there's a lot that goes into being a gold-rated program, having a curriculum that's aligned with the early learning standards, completing self-assessments, doing comprehensive screenings and assessments. All of our staff has to have an additional 10 hours of professional development every school year. And our teachers are all highly qualified. So again, a lot of work goes into being a gold-rated program, and we look forward to maintaining that status for years and years to come. Next slide, please. So we would have loved to have brought our preschoolers in to sing with the rest of our Roland All-Stars, but they'd be a little shy. So Ms. Marshall has put together a video. In the midst of all of the hard work we do enjoy some cuteness. So we want you guys to take a few minutes just to soak up some of the cuteness that we get every day. And before doing that, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If not, I will back away. All right, thank you.
going this way too much. It's just too perfect.
up. Thank you, Roland. Thanks for all you do. We just wanna celebrate you. Thank you, let's see up. Thank you, Roland. Thanks for all you do. We just wanna celebrate you.
Couldn't stop there. I asked the kids, I go, okay, we're going to this board meeting. What are we gonna tell them? Because I always try to like involve them in what songs we're doing. Normally they're like, let's just do Bruno Mars or something, but the kids were like, we should, where's Jamie? Jamie was like, we should say, thank you. And I was like, wow, that was easy. And then they come up with the melodies, and we kind of collaborate, but we come up with the dance moves and the melodies together, and we never really got to the lyrics on that last part, but we just stuck with that. And that works too.
That was wonderful. Thank you.
And there's too many people to thank. Literally, like every single person in the room, like takes a part in getting everybody here. It's gorgeous. You could have gone to the park. You know, I think people probably skipped ballet and karate to be here. So, you know, from me, thank you. We really appreciate that. Okay, one more song. I think you know the theme of this song. Ready, go.
Let me just say, I don't know where they heard that "stay in the game" from.
They all start crying.
I don't know where.
They know exactly.
Hey, students, thank you so much. Let's give them another round of applause. Thank you. And like Mr. Corrigan said, it's a beautiful day outside. Please do not stick around. Get out of here. Go have some fun.
never been that person as a kid. No. Never.
Oh, yeah, Chris is in Disneyland right now.
She is. Sorry. Goodness. I could have never been that kid. Like, yeah.
No way.
I'd be in the corner, like, and then that's when they were following the directions. I'd have been like, I'm done.
Oh, forget being in the corner. I just wouldn't have came.
I'd be in the corner. You would have stayed home.
I would have stayed home.
As they're exiting, I want to call up Ms. Thompson, Assistant Superintendent, for our final presentation tonight.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Wiley and I actually do have our own song, our theme song. We really do. He gave it to us, but I think we're going to spare them that. We're going to just let it go, right? So if you want to hear it later, let us know and we'll share it with you. But certainly, I want to introduce you this evening to Mr. Wiley, our safety and compliance specialist. He, along with Ms. Cash, our communications coordinator, have worked well in putting together a safety crisis plan. And this is a high-level overview that we're wanting to share with you this evening. So just a few slides. We won't take too much of your time, but certainly I want to give appreciation to their hard work working together to make this happen. So Mr. Wiley, would you like to come up and share our crisis plan?
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Like she said, between our work and Ms. Cash, if it wasn't for Cash, I'd be presenting a Denny's placemat and it said, this is the game plan. So she's the reason it looks as nice as it is and put as much work into it. Said MT's given us the navigational beacons and told us where to go with this. So coming on board, we have the emergency operations plan, which is dictated by the state. The state says every building under our control has to have an emergency operations plan. That's great. We brought in a representative from the state to make sure we had all of our T's crossed, I's dotted. But there's a lot of stuff that it doesn't really touch base on. The state says that we have to have a crisis plan in case a dam breaks. If I live to be 1,000 years old, I'm not sure I'll be able to tell you where a dam breaking would affect South Euclid Lyndhurst. There's stuff that wasn't in the plan, i.e. transportation incidents. So Cash, MT, myself, we all sat down, we started putting together a plan. And so, next slide, please. Hey, there we are. So basically, we'll put in a plan with just kind of a 30,000-foot view of here's what needs to be done. We didn't want to handcuff individuals to particular roles, just said, hey, this has to be done, this has to be done, this has to be done. And it's at the board level or building larger overview of everything. Next slide, please. Once again, we've got this, and we've also got a communications plan put into place just because we know that communication is key. We might have a building affected that has students and other buildings will be affected because of this. People talk, they talk between siblings. You might have relatives working in one building and works in the other building. So along with the crisis plan, we've got a communications plan that kind of goes hand in hand with what we have. Next slide, please. Then lastly, we've also got the Raptor emergency notification system. So another thing that we've come to realize is communication is key. So with this app that'll be able to be downloaded by all employees of the district, if something happens in a building, we can notify everybody in that building or associated with that building, and they'll basically get the equivalent of an Amber Alert. The way the system works is their emergency systems or their emergency icons mirror the different levels of emergency that we have. So if it's a shelter in place, if it's a lockdown, if it's secure the perimeter, all those line up with the apps that we have or the icons that we have. So if something happens, some building level administrator or somebody can hit this little icon, and then everybody will be notified that we are now in a situation at a particular school. And there's different ways to also notify fires, fire drills, weather emergencies, that sort of thing. So like I said, it's just a way to communicate throughout the district and throughout the building that we've got a situation in place. So this way, when whoever's in a meeting at the board office can look at their phone and say, uh-oh, something's happening in X school, and we can start implementing the crisis plan. So the two kind of go hand in hand. Said it works from an app or from a desktop as well. So like I said, if you've got your phone with you, you can get these notifications and these alerts. So unless there's any, yes ma'am.
Are there levels for the employees on what they can and can't click?
Yes, ma'am. So it depends on your role in the building. And so at the bottom, you'll see there's a team assist. That's particularly, so let's say yesterday morning at arrival at Brush, a student dropped a glass bottle. So instead of trying to get on the radio and say, hey, maintenance, custodial, hit that team assist and you'll tell them what your location is and what's going on, and people that are related to a custodial incident will get a notification saying, hey, I've got a cleanup in Welser to go take care of. Same thing, say we get a sick student. Only people that are on the medical level will be notified I've got a sick student. So it depends on your role in the building, your role in the district, what level of everything you're notified of.
Okay. A couple things on this. This plan that they put together is extremely comprehensive. We've looked at everything from what a war room would look like in case of worst case scenario, and that's located at the board office. My team, the cabinet, knows what their designated spots are at the building that where an incident may be occurring, to where our evacuation sites would be, and then the communication line that goes behind it. We just never want to be caught off guard. So this is one of those things you hope you never have to use, but you want to be prepared always. And the Raptor system feeds right into what we currently have in all of our buildings. When any visitor comes in, after they go through the Evolve system, they have to present their IDs, and those IDs are put in the Raptor system. So this obviously is just another thing to go along with Raptor, is this new addition. So hats off to Ms. Thompson, Mr. Wiley, Ms. Cash for the amount of work that's gone into this.
And one side note that I want to add onto this, the way the system works, it's an unlimited number of users. And one thing that we're pushing out to local law enforcement is their responders have the capability to get the same notifications in real time. So if we don't have the capability, or you're lagged down and you can't call 911, that notification and their awareness of our different emergency responses, they can get here that much faster, and they can start helping in whatever way they need to, which as we all know, in every situation, seconds matter, and that'll cut the amount of time, response time down. So that's another big point for us with this communication piece. Yes, ma'am.
And are the teachers and students going through different?
Yes, thank you for, I totally dropped the ball, and we're in the process of slowly rolling this out to staff meetings in all the buildings. Everybody that's got a different role with the team assist, sitting down with them, going over what notifications mean, how everything responds. So yes, ma'am. So over the next couple of weeks, I'll be doing the tour of staff meetings and getting everybody spun up and explaining everything that we've got going on.
Okay, and then they'll be running through the scenarios.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Right now we've already started practicing with fire drills.
Okay.
Just getting the administrator comfortable pushing the button, seeing how to turn it on, turn it off. You can take accountability and take head counts with the app, just kind of getting their feet wet. So as we roll this out and introduce this to the teachers, they can now go to their phone and start taking head counts with the phone. So yes, ma'am, we're going with a crawl, walk, run of this approach. Sorry, no, thank you.
Does it keep an ongoing log so you know which buildings are being used more often?
We have that pace capability, but it's also recorded. So with the state, we have to record the number of fire drills we do, the number of everything. So every time we use this, it'll be logged in the little file system that it has. So we can sit back and say, all right, they've used it X number of times for whether it's a drill or real life emergency.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes my superintendent report.
I was waiting, like, I didn't want to step on your toes. Thank you so much, Mr. Wiley and Ms. Thompson for that. We can go right into item 2.5, public comment. Do we want to start with Ms. Richardson? If you want, you can take the mic here. So we'll go right into public comment. The rules of public comment allows us to.
Do we want to be consistent and save it for the end, because we're not for the meeting?
So,
Or no?
You know what? I'm sorry, Becky. You're gonna go leader. Yes, I'm sorry. Sometimes they have to keep me on track. I'm sorry.
you're right. The first public comment is for anything that is reflective in the agenda.
Yes.
And then the second, yes, I'm sorry. We will go into item 3, the minutes. 3.1, the minutes of the special meeting of March 11, 2025 will be approved as recorded or corrected. Furthermore, the reading of these minutes will be waived. May we get a motion to approve item 3.1?
Second.
Mrs. Shelby and Ms. Falkenberg. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, may we have a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Mrs. Shelby? Aye. Ms. Falkenberg?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. King?
Aye.
Item 4, treasurer's report.
Good evening. Recommend for approval item 4.1, the financial reports for month end February 2025. Item 4.2, the bank reconciliation for month end February 2025. Item 4.3, the investment earnings for month end for February 2025. Item 4.4, we have 3 donations on there for approval. Item 4.5, the Bureau of Workers' Comp Group retrospective program renewal for 2026. And then item 4.6, items 4.1 through 4.5 for approval.
May we get a motion to approve items 4.1 through 4.5?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Falkenberg, Mrs. King, any questions or comments?
Again, I always look at the donations and I'm so appreciative of the people who are still remembering us in donating.
Is this,
Mhm. So that was, yes, it was, the family contacted us and asked if they could put, as a part of the obituary, donations back to the district, and we did have a couple.
okay. I thought that was true. Did you know that? Eric was a previous school board member? When I came on the board, he was on the board. Yeah, I think it was the last year. So, thank the family for, I do thank the family, as you said, Kathryn, for choosing us. You could choose a lot of other places to give memorial donations, and that means a lot to me to see those items keep matriculating and going forward. Hearing no other questions or comments, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. Falkenberg?
Aye.
Mrs. King?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. Shelby?
Aye.
And then item 4.7, approval of the tax complaint items as presented. We have 5 attached there.
May we get a motion to approve item 4.7?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Shelby and Ms. Falkenberg. Any questions or comments?
So just for clarity, this is the new process that the state put in place for us to, if we have any discrepancies or arguments about values, whether it be us doing a counter argument to somebody else requesting a decrease, or us just feeling that the properties might have been set too low. And as always, we only do commercial properties, we don't do the residential.
Now, with that new process, do you place them on the agenda shortly after they're received? Is it a time frame, or how does that typically work?
So it's going to be this time annually every year, because once they set it for the new values, then they're released. It's based on timing when they're released at the county, and then our real estate attorney pulls them together, and yeah, they're always going to be in the March meeting annually moving forward.
Okay. Do legal recommends, or they just pull a report and kind of show us?
So we give them parameters, and we say, if it's going to be a loss of blank value.
They query them, and then it kind of
Yes,
gets out.
and so they'll say, okay, well, and he runs them by me. He'll say, we got one that's like right on the border, it's a little under, do we want to include it, do we not want to include it? And we'll look at, me and him have a conference call and work through each one of them. And these are the ones that we definitely stood to lose the most from, if we didn't argue.
Okay. Thank you for that. Any other questions or comments? No? Hearing none, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Mrs. Shelby? Aye. Ms. Falkenberg?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. King?
Aye.
Item 5, superintendent's items.
Under 5, certified personnel, we have 3 appointments listed, 2 resignations, 5 resignations for retirement, and 2 paid leave of absences seeking the board's approval for.
May we get a motion to approve item 5.1?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Falkenberg and Mrs. Shelby? Any questions or comments?
I have comments.
It's your teacher.
Having worked with Lisa, Tim Ford, and Ellen Spielman, who's just a workaholic. I know how hard these people worked and how much they meant to our students, and just appreciate everything that they gave to our district and our students. And they will be dearly missed.
Yes. I said the same. To reach the resignation line at the end is a joy, but when I look at these lists, I guess I'm getting to that point to where majority of them taught all 3 of my children. Like Miss Ruckel, she taught my oldest boy. My oldest boy is 29. He was in that classroom where they used to measure muscles. Because Miss Ruckel is an avid workout person. And he would come home and he would say, I don't know what Miss Ruckel eats. Her muscles are bigger than mine. So to see some of these names approaching retirement, I'm very happy for them, but in the same breath, they've been here for decades, and that shows their dedication to our district and our students. So congratulations selfishly to all of you that are listed, but I hope you enjoy your retirement.
Hopefully Mr. Ford can come back and coach.
Yeah.
We need him for soccer.
He might. Hearing no further questions or comments, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. Falkenberg?
Aye.
Mrs. Shelby?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. King?
Aye.
Item 6.
Under 6, just 1 ratification, again, for retirement purposes. That's all we have under 6.
May we get a motion to approve item 6.1?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. King and Ms. Falkenberg. Any questions or comments?
My comment. I worked with Joe, or he worked with me.
Said he worked with me.
Many a time, yes. Yeah, he will be missed as well.
Yes. It's hard to think of the IT department and the IT van without Joe. And I just told somebody to email him yesterday, so he better answer all these emails until we get to July 1st. So thank you so much for your expertise, for your thought processes. I know sometimes we've sent him through tunnels and tunnels of navigating paths of IT, and he has always been so smart. Like, I really want to know, how did he gain all that experience? But
He's the man behind the scenes.
definitely gonna miss him. Grateful for his ability to train the others coming up behind him.
Yep.
As far as back as I can remember, he was always eager to show somebody else what he knew, and that's a noble place to be. So, thank you so much, and enjoy retirement too. He's probably gonna work on computers at home somewhere in his kitchen. So, hearing no further questions or comments, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Mrs. King,
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Shelby.
Item 7.
Under 7, we have 2 appointments for the school year. 1 resignation, 2 more retirements. A student AV worker, Mr. Phil's got him busy, and 1 sub-custodian. So seeking all of those items under 7.
Get one more.
Nope. And 1 more, an MOU, I apologize. And we got a lot more going on down there. Just the MOU,
Yep.
yep.
May we get a motion to approve items 7.1 and 7.2? Mrs. Shelby and Ms. Falkenberg. Wow. This is a Miska. She's finally going home to join her husband in retirement.
Yeah.
'Cause he
1 year
retired
later, 1 year later.
before her, and welcome home, Mrs. Miska. And who else is that? Mr. Campbell. I remember when he started out as a bus driver, I believe he was. Was that right, Kathryn?
Could be.
I think he started out as a bus driver, and then he crossed over to custodian.
Yeah, he was with me at Memorial.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's a neighbor on my street, and I used to chuckle with him, like, how you gonna go from driving buses to maintaining buildings? Aren't you gonna miss the kids? I'll still see the kids, Cassandra. So that's pretty cool to see him retiring. So thank you all for your service, and we wish you well. May we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Mrs. Shelby,
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. King.
Aye.
Item 8.
Under 8, just seeking the approval under 8.1, you see supplemental activity as well as 1 unpaid volunteer.
May we get a motion to approve item 8.1?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. King, Mrs. King, and Ms. Falkenberg. Any questions or comments?
I mean, all of these people, I'm sure we owe them a great deal. But I have to call out Lauren Sturdivant because she works so hard and is so creative. And I'm just blown away when I see what she does with these kids and how she brings out their creativity and their love of performance. So I'm just very, very thankful for her.
Definitely talented. Definitely. May we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Mrs. King,
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Shelby.
Item 9.
Under 9, 2 items. The first one, 9.1, roofing for Brush High School's D-Wing, and 9.2, a payment in lieu for transportation. Seeking the board's approval for 9.1 and 9.2.
May we get a motion to approve 9.1 and 9.2?
So anxious for this. Because I've been in that D-wing and I know what the roof is like.
Second.
No, you're good. You're funny. Your historian nature is appalling to me. It's good though. Hearing no further questions or comments, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. King,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Shelby.
Item 10.
Under 10, seeking the approval for 10.1, we have some MOUs for our CCP, and we have an out-of-state field trip under 10.2, And those two items under 10.
May we get a motion to approve 10.1 and 10.2?
So moved.
Second?
Mrs. King, Ms. Falkenberg, any questions or comments? No, I was just pulling it down.
I love Detroit. My sister used to live there, and we used to visit every year. But we have such a wonderful symphony here.
Yes, we
I
do.
wasn't quite sure why they were going there, but I hope they have a fabulous time.
Yeah.
And where they're gonna eat is a lot of fun,
Yeah,
so.
yeah. They did a great job at the state concert too. They're phenomenal. They're great. Ms. Barrett does a great job with them.
Hearing no other questions or comments, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Mrs. King,
Aye.
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. Shelby.
Aye.
It's all yours.
None. Check.
All right. Item 13, Board of Education, 13.1, any information?
I gotta admit, I didn't read through all these, I'm sorry.
Oh, we're not there yet. I will ask on the information piece, Ashley, I know you weren't here for the last meeting.
Yes.
But I don't want you to go through your whole list, but can you just give me a brief recap of how you enjoyed or did not enjoy that training session?
So the funny thing is, I was like packed to go last time, and then I was like, I just can't do it. But it was in here. Hold on. Take out. Is this the right one? No, this isn't even what I'm looking for. Okay. So the training in February, I found it really good. I thought I had my notes with me, but I don't. But I can't think of like what in particular, but it was like in the beginning, I liked how they had the sessions set up of, it was like a prompt or like a specialty, and then they went around to each group and provided some scenarios, and the scenarios were very realistic about things that we see in the district and through interactions with stakeholders. I enjoyed it because like the grouping of people, it was just like very random, whoever you sat next to or sat near, but it felt like a very diverse group of experience level, but then also of expertise. I wasn't as lucky as Crystal and Erin, who ended up in the same group, but that's okay. But it worked out, because we couldn't have been in the same group, so that's fine. Yeah, but it was very educational and eye-opening, and when I get to my notes, I'll send over anything like pertinent that jumped out that I wrote down. But I really liked the format. I went to the first one when I first became a board member, and it was just okay. It was more of just like, let me just chat at you for like X amount of hours, and that wasn't great. But this updated one was very interactive, and it provided some really good feedback. And then during the lunch hour, which of course wasn't like programmed, just some really good conversations with some local board members in the area, just about some things that they're seeing. And even there were a couple people from a district that covered like 3 or 4 different like cities or villages. And it was interesting because like, of course we cover 2 cities, but the thought that you have school boards that are covering significantly more footprints, even if they're relatively small, like it's still a lot more stakeholders to manage and to like acquiesce with. But yeah, would recommend 5 stars.
I asked Erin and Crystal, I think when they were here, when you went there, what was the feeling it kind of left you with? Like, oh wow, we're not as far behind as we think, or wow, there's some things I can see that we might want to implement. I can ask them that too.
I know there was one thing that I wrote down, so I'll find my notes for it, that I was like, that would be really interesting for us to do.
Okay.
But there were 2 other like local districts.
Okay.
So it was interesting hearing, I mean, it's like a little bit of their drama of just like, oh, is that what's happening over there? Because I was like, oh, I didn't know that. But like, it was very eye-opening of like, yeah, the work that we're doing in SEL like is very like, definitely above board, but it's like also very like further than we think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're so ingrained in something for so long, you're just like, oh, just making it, just getting by. But hearing the experiences of other districts, like, it's really clear that we're leading the way in a lot of different areas. Even just like some of our regular responses to like the prompts, some other districts really struggled with the nuances of like engaging in anonymous forums and like certain interactions with the public. Like, it was very interesting of like people's initial responses to things.
Were you shocked by how many people don't air their board meetings?
That was
Or
a
were
hot
you shocked
topic.
at how many people did?
It was a hot topic. So I was very surprised at people's perspective about like the timing of the board meetings, but then also just like the airing of it. There are some board, like the timing of it really came up. I know we've recently changed our time, but there are some that meet, I think one district said they meet at like 8 o'clock.
Erin did speak about that.
And
like,
I was
in the
just
morning.
like,
I was like,
that'd be a no for me. But then like others, like one had like a 5 o'clock and a 5:30, but the general consensus about like putting it online was just about like the commenting piece and about like the actual added value. And I didn't speak up when we had the larger conversation about it because I just feel like engaging with the public and meeting them where they're at. Not everyone can come to a board meeting in person, but as long as they're obtaining the information at a later date, I think that's the real value in it. So it's about like meeting the needs of your community, not meeting the needs of your personal preference.
I still stand appalled at how many views we get.
Crazy.
Like, I try to translate to like, if that many people who viewed actually came, but to see the number of people that actually view really makes me happy. Because even though people don't speak, I feel like they're paying attention, they're watching, and they are valued. Because how many times do you rate people's ability to care by how often they show up? And in this day and age, I think that's an inaccurate representation. So that still ceases to amaze me.
8 o'clock though, no.
No,
Nah.
I'm trying to still be asleep at 8 o'clock.
Even the 5 o'clock, I'm like, even that's a bit too early for me, but yeah.
So, thank you for that, and whenever you want to, if you want to shoot it, you can.
Yeah.
Also, I finally have the 2025 correct listing. So, Ashley, you had March?
I did have March.
Did you go to either?
I did not.
So that's why I got
did
the email, like, is anybody coming? Okay, so April 7th and April 14th is you, Kathryn?
Yeah.
You good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. I will let them know that, well, I'll let them know, because they usually send the message and ask if they're coming. So that's 7, 14, all right, perfect. And then May, Josh, you let me know if you still want to appear. I can't recall what we had said, maybe or maybe not.
I think we're pushed it to November, through the November forecast, yeah.
Okay, so do November for Josh. Actually, I had October, so move it to November.
Yeah, October or November, we'll revisit it as we get closer.
Okay,
Yeah, depends on how early I get the forecast done. Technically, it doesn't have to be done until November, but I usually do it in October.
all right,
Someone
so
have May?
I will take May since Josh booted himself out.
I can still come along, I just.
No, you don't have to.
May
I
is
can,
important, I think, because it's end of school, you have got
End
a
of
lot
school
of
year.
statistics for our senior class and so on.
okay. So I will take May, and I promise I will remember. So I will take May, that's the 12th and the 5th. Yes, so I'll take it. I know we talked about consistency and the bullet points when we were at the last meeting. If you get a chance, take a look at it. I probably will do that same bullet point where we did something from a building, something from a building, something from financials, something from the Soup's office, and we'll try to stay consistent with that. We talked about showing up at meetings and everybody having different formats in which they present information.
Yeah.
I don't think you,
So
were you?
I've
You
always
weren't
written
here.
it in a narrative form, so you don't
Yes.
want that.
No, you can keep it in a narrative, but I want to pass out, a while back, we had bullet points. I think when Stephanie was here, when we had a student achievement piece, a financial piece, something from the superintendent's office. we were just talking about how when one person goes to give a report, the next person goes to give a report, and we want to try to keep it consistent, so people aren't all over the place, and they're like, oh, when she came, she told us about this, so we'll keep it consistent, but everything that you say is probably in the bullets. But I'll just pass that format along and then go from there. Other than that, I don't think, do we have any events coming up that any of you are involved with? No?
Spring break's next week.
You sound happy. Groceries are going up.
I know the city of South Euclid is hosting a job fair.
I see
Thursday.
that, and that was a
Thursday.
question
Yep.
I had, because
Yep.
who was going? Thank you for saying that, because I looked at that.
Bill, yep, those two gentlemen right over there go.
Okay. Do you have a table or something? You're just going with a, how, what are you, can you secret, like how you're presenting or anything?
All kinds of stuff, yeah. I'll show you a picture where we go, right, just went to a career fair, I'll show you the stuff.
Okay.
So Bill's been going around to different universities at their career fairs with all these postings going out. So similar setup, nice table skirt, and then handouts and things about the district and all those. So it'll be the same at job fair coming up in South Euclid.
Is that the first time they've had that?
It's not the first time. It's at a different location. It previously was at the community center. But this time, it's from 3 to 7 at City Hall. It's in like the back hallway and then upstairs in the community room.
Oh, so when they come in the back door, then they head up the steps? and then
So it'll
there's
be
a-
like both in the hallway and then you can go upstairs and like the rest will be in the community room.
Okay.
Yep. And we have the Realtor event coming up too that
In,
I'm going to
May.
present at April or May. Yeah,
Yeah.
one of those two.
Okay. Nothing else? Any non-unfinished business? I don't think so. Board policy, first reading. Superintendent presents the following policies for first read and preliminary review. South Euclid Lyndhurst Board of Education will be asked to vote to adopt these policies at the board meeting being held on April 22nd, 2025. We've got, all of them are revisions. Policy number 5131, 5136, 5200, 5500, 5780, 7540.03, and 7540.04. Those will all be on the agenda for adoption April 22nd. And I feel like
Flipped them.
13.4, policy adoption. You said flip them?
No,
Oh,
we
you're
flipped
telling me.
no, we flipped the board meetings, remember? That's why it says the 22nd.
Oh, yes. I thought you meant they
Oh,
flipped the
no,
order.
sorry.
The following policies were presented for first read and preliminary review at the meeting held on February 18th. Two of those policies were new, 0166 and 2265. The following four were revisions, 5136.01, 6320, 7450, and 7530.01. May we get a motion to approve items 13.3 and 13.4?
So moved. Second.
Ms. Falkenberg and Mrs. Shelby. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, may we get a roll call, Mr. Hill?
Ms. Falkenberg,
Aye.
Mrs. Shelby,
Aye.
Mrs. Jones,
Aye.
Mrs. King.
Aye.
And Mr. Kaple just brought to my attention, don't forget those April meetings, we flipped them around. So the board and the work were flipped so we can accommodate Mr. Russ.
Gotcha.
All right. Now, we can go into 14.1, public comment? Yes, ma'am. We've got Becky Richardson. Just a brief synopsis. Public participation. There is no right for the public to speak in or be heard at meetings of a government body such as the Board of Education. But public participation at a board meeting is available at all board meetings that are public. The board president is the presiding officer. We got that part. We have your slip already filled out. Go ahead, Ms. Richardson.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Becky Richardson. I'm the CLPTA president, and I want to give you a quick synopsis of a little bit of what we've been doing with PTA. Yesterday I sent an email to all of you board members and most of the administrators talking about the National PTA Legislative Conference that several of us attended earlier in this month. I won't go over all of the details because they were all provided in the email, but I will say that this conference was extremely impactful. PTA is an advocacy organization, so to be a part of the advocacy and have FaceTime with our legislators was very powerful. They focused a lot on some of the major policies that PTA is advocating for, so I shared all of those with you via email. A couple of the key ones were gun violence prevention, basically ensuring everyone who owns a gun has them locked securely. We were talking about the IDEA Act, making sure that our special needs students, we have we're fully funded for our special needs students. Lots of other ones, but it was extremely impactful. We had lots of not only PTA people from across the country, but Board of Education members, administrators, teachers attend. So it's going to be held in early March again next year. It will be in person in Washington, D.C. So I hope to see everyone in this room there. If anyone here cares about public education, children, anything, and since you're in this room, you do, so you are invited to attend. So hope to see everyone there in D.C. next year. Then last Friday, I attended an Ohio PTA advocacy event in Columbus. This was focused on diversity, equity, and opportunity. So it was a small group of PTA leaders from across the state who are focused on just really building relationships with each other and talking about why we join PTA, why we stay in PTA. We met with State Rep Beryl Brown Pickle Antonio, who represents House District 4, which is in the Columbus area. She was giving us an overview of the state budget process. She shared some very real concerns that schools are going to be losing funding. And she was talking about like what we as family members and people that care can do, and really stress the importance of reaching out to your legislators, emailing them, calling them consistently. Like there's a lot of stuff happening in our society right now as a whole, and it is critical. It's critical that this is not the time that we stand back and just hide. We have to be a voice. We have to go out and do, we have to take action. In addition, we met with two teacher union leaders from the Ohio Federation of Teachers, as well as the Ohio Education Association. So their messaging was very much along the same lines. We have to take action. It's critical for parents to share their voice about what's going on with their school district and demand full funding. And it's also critical to enhance the relationship between PTA, teachers, administrators, board members, and PTA. And then, we took a tour of the State House afterwards, and we literally ran into Governor DeWine. So he invited us into his office, shared a little bit of history about the office, posed for a picture, so that was nice. Tomorrow is the National Day of Action, where people are being asked to wear red for education and write handwritten letters to Ohio legislators to thank them for their support and policies of education, and inviting them to speak at our local schools. And then finally, the Ohio PTA Convention is coming up April 25th and 26th, so we'll have a representative from the Ohio Department of Education speaking on Friday evening. The two teacher representatives we met with on Friday will also be there. And then there's also going to be a variety of workshops throughout the event focused on advocacy and continuing to grow and improve family-school partnerships. And if anyone wants more information and details about the PTA convention, I'd be happy to share them with you. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Our next public comment, Kathy Thank you. I'll never get it, I'm sorry. He said it for you? I like you, young man, thank you.
All right, hi everybody. I am Kathy Covarrubias, as Peter told you. I would like to go ahead and talk about the speaker that we had at the Lyndhurst Democratic Club this last meeting. It was Dr. Collins with Honesty for Ohio Education. She is the executive director. She was on the State Board of Education. She's taught K through college, and she also has done a lot of other advocacy work throughout her career. Primarily what we talked about was, I know Becky was talking about like the federal stuff. Dr. Collins was talking about the state stuff, because we're kind of getting hit education-wise, like bills on all fronts, which is not fun. I have, could you pass these down? I won't read them all, but these are like the priority legislation that Honesty for Ohio Education is focusing on. A few things that she suggested was to please utilize their website. It has so much information. It has all kinds of tools for not just like individuals to use, but also school boards to use. So she really encouraged us to let you guys know about that. In regards to school funding, of course, federal, they want to completely get rid of like the whole Department of Education. In addition to that, with the state, we're trying to get the third phase passed. However, right now they have not adjusted for the current, what it would take to make it current for 2025. They're using 2022 numbers, and as we all know, everything cost-wise has gone up. So it's not gonna fund our school like we were hoping it would be. And so she's wanting you to make sure you call all your representatives, was another one that I wanted to bring up. She wanted to remind everybody that they don't just do this alone. They are a nonpartisan group statewide. They partner with the PTA, just to mention that. But they also partner with a bunch of different faith organizations, the ACLU, League of Women Voters, Ohio Students, all kinds of groups. She did bring up the concern over the Dear Colleague letter that was discussed at the last Board of Education meeting.
It's gonna buzz you in a minute. I just don't want to cut you off. It's gonna buzz you in a minute.
Yeah, no, I'm getting to the point. So she had said that on their website they have guidance letters and links to legal guidance. She mentioned that a lot of school boards, I'm not sure how this one is, but a lot of school boards, when they use their legal advisors, don't know, they're not experts on civil rights. So she suggested to have maybe a civil rights lawyer or another organization take a look at policies before we implement them, because there are some things specifically regarding the Fourth and Fifth Amendment that would affect our students that we also need to make sure that we're protecting.
Thank you.
So yeah.
All right, thank you so much. And these are the important legislation. All right. Thank you both so much for that public comment, and I will take a look at these.
Do we have any further public comment, Mr. Hill?
None.
None. We do have a need for executive session this evening. As a general rule, Public Board of Education may hold an executive session. We do like to remind everyone that no action will be taken in this executive session, and we are going into executive session for purposes of
A.
and
I haven't even even say that. I'd say A and possibly E.
A and possibly
E.
E.
Mhm.
All right, so we will be going into executive session for purposes of A, which is respect to public employee or official, and letter E for matters required to be kept confidential by federal law, rules, or state statutes. It is now 7:30. May we have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second. Mrs. King and Ms. Falkenberg. And we will not be going back on video.
No, no action to follow.
No action to follow, so once we reconvene, we'll close down and we'll be done for the day. Thank you all for joining us.
All in favor?
See you next
Aye.
month. All in favor?